So I'm back to this CB antenna repair, and things are a lot less complicated than I thought after I thought about it during the night. The antenna portion of this monopole antenna for my General Electric Help Citizens Band radio. This is a monopole antenna that extends, and that antenna is bolted to that copper disc in the background, making a continuous path. So I could prove that with my continuity meter just by going from the antenna to the copper disc. Okay, now if I go to the ground, if I take the other end of this cable that plugs into the CB and go to the center conductor to the antenna, I also get a continuous signal. So between the center conductor of this jack through the wire, through the center conductor that's secured in here and soldered to that copper disc. The copper disc is bolted to the antenna, so I have a path for current from the monopole antenna through the bolt, through the disc, through the center wire, through the center pin to the input of the receiver transmitter. Likewise, the shield is what broke off when I lifted the mount off the magnet base. The shield, if you can see that, is not continuous with the antenna or the copper disc. However, it is continuous with the shield on the RCA jack or coax jack. That's the outer conductive ring there. So the shield is continuous with the shield on this end, and those copper leaflets I broke off are not connected to the antenna in any way, and there were not two. Simply put, there were two strips here that were underneath this foil and underneath this magnet to make a connection with the ground plane when I attached the antenna to the top of the car. So those two strips are just fanned out in opposite directions to make connection with the ground plane, to make connection with the shield. So all I have to do is jimmy up a way to reconnect those copper leaflets with there, put some glue on there, and reconnect the entire unit. So I'm going to go offline and I can try to do that, and then we can get this all fixed up. Thanks for tuning in. So I was getting ready to smash this thing because I couldn't work on it. I couldn't get the soldering iron, and finally I went for it and I pulled this metal disc off, and this is where everything's connected, and it popped out, thankfully. And you can see where the ground plane was screwed to this metal plate, and the shield was originally soldered to that leaflet somewhere inside, but it's so short now, so I just made a mess out of it, but I managed to solder it and got continuity. The middle terminal comes out and goes to this, you can see it's a spiral, it's an inductor, or it's acting like an inductor, and there's a disc capacitor under here, so there's some impedance matching going on, or some way to tune the antenna to a quarter wavelength or something. And I also soldered to the ground plane and the magnet to these leaflets, which was not easy, and I got to feed this through that hole and connect it one more time and then glue this magnet in. So that's my terrible solder work, but so far so good. I got something. So I finally got it worked out. It's all connected in there. Unfortunately, when I soldered it, the foil on the bottom burned right through, so a little bit of that copper showing, but it's actually a blessing in disguise, so I can confirm continuity between the antenna mast and the center, and continuity between, I can access it now, continuity, but now that it's all together, I can access the continuity between the ground plane and the shield on the connector. And I'll let the glue settle. Hopefully I didn't short anything out. And then I'm going to take some masking tape. The glue's in there, but I don't trust it, so I'm going to kind of cob job it and put some electrical tape on the bottom of this to kind of prevent this from shorting out to the car. And I will also kind of wrap this up, make sure that doesn't happen again where I pull on the antenna and everything falls apart. So thank you for tuning in, and let's see if this works. So everything checked out. There's continuity between the mast and the center pin. There's no continuity between the mast and the ground plane. And there's continuity between the ground plane and the outer pin. And then I covered that copper strip that was showing, and I wrapped it with electrical tape to secure it. The glue is drying between the magnet and the metal disc. And I want to try it outside, except it's pouring. And maybe a little later I can show you how this thing works. Thanks for the patience. Alright, so I don't know what's going on. I plug in the antenna, I get what sounds like reception, and then it goes quiet. It goes from static, where you would expect a voice to break in, to just not anything. So I popped the case. There's 4 screws on the back of this. It came off easily. I very carefully popped off the channel select, the on-off volume, and the range squelch slider button. Fortunately, they didn't all break off. And I don't see anything dirty, clean, blown up. And I don't suspect there's anything wrong with this. But I don't know why I turn it on and it's like a capacitor charges and nothing. I wonder if I fried the little capacitor inside the antenna soldering. I bet that's what I did. Should I try a different antenna? Am I going to go out and spend 35 bucks on a boom antenna for something I'll never use? Or can I make an antenna? I don't know what to do. Let me play around some more. And this channel select spins around infinitely, so I don't know if I lost the channel now, because I probably should have kept where it was on. I don't know what to do. Alright. See ya. Breaker 1A, Breaker 1A, can I get a radio check? Checking my radio here. I found out that I needed to start the car because the voltage was must have been too low, and the gain was suffering, and that's why it was quieting down. It had nothing to do with the radio. Breaker 1-8, Breaker 1-8, can I get a radio check? Where did you go? Breaker 1-4, Breaker 1-4, can I get a radio check? Do you read? I sound pretty good, don't I? Well, we have connection. We are receiving. Not sure we're transmitting. At least not with any power. We're out of range. I would call this a KAFKUBA success story. Shout out to my future son-in-law for giving me this hassle. Hey, Breaker 2-1, Breaker 2-1, I'm looking for a radio check here. Trying to check out my unit here. Breaker 2-1, do you read? Do you read me?
I tell you what, lots of fun out there. Rainy day in Georgia though, y'all. We got some storms coming through. Sure do. Country boy got some storms coming through. My gardener's loving this water. Go. My gardener's loving this water.
Breaker 2-1, do you read? Is that the gardener there? I'm your gardener. Give me a check here.
Missouri, you'll love this weather we have down
He's
here.
fucking squelching me. He's talking too much. I'm just a few miles from the highway. I could probably go down there and cause some trouble. But I think we have a working unit. Breaker 2-1, can I get a radio check here? That used to be the thrill. That used to be the thrill of having a CB radio, right? You were connecting with people. It was a lot like, you know, Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And, you know, I feel like I'm 12 again. Breaker 2-1, can I get a radio check? Do you read? You fuck. Maybe I'll do a special driving down the highway and like juggling cables and wires and trying to drive 65 miles an hour. But alright, I think this is a success. We're going to wrap this video up. Thank you, KAFKUBA fans. Even though there's only a couple of you. I need to get my subscriptions up. Breaker 19, Breaker 19, come on. Well, we got some voices. I'm pleased. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.